This episode of Capes and Lunatics is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. Get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
Avast me hearties, and welcome once again to Full Stream Ahead. I am your host, Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me as always is me skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
Welcome Mozz. And welcome to another round of another new show here at Full Stream Ahead. We are coming back to The Boys, this time Season 2, Episode 1, The Big Ride. With Butcher still missing, Huey, Mother's Milk, Frenchie, and Kimiko are now fugitives, and Homelander and Vought are more powerful than ever. But just as the boys are about to leave the country, they are pulled back into the fray. Our director this evening is Philip Sigricia. Of course, the writers are Eric Kripke. Eric Kripke has the developed by credit. Let's get to those two more credits. Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson has our based on the comic book by credits, and that's all the credits. Eric Kripke is doing all the hard work and writing on this, so good for him. So this is for those of you who don't remember, at the end of last season, Butcher was off on his own. He didn't really intend to be off on his own. He just wound up being off on his own. Everything had fallen through for the boys. Compound V, people know it exists, but I don't think they have any evidence of it yet. To put it more specifically, the CIA knows that Compound V exists. The general public still does not know.
Right, and most of the government knows as well, right? Or they have found out because it was leaked to other countries because Homelander was trying to create supervillains.
Yeah, so we know that the supervillains have been created, and the
government has just now found out about it, right?
Right.
Gotcha.
And this one opens with because I believe this opens up with Black Noir, correct?
Killing the supervillain?
Yeah, killing the supervillain. The terrorist supervillain Nakib, yes. Who has blow himself up powers, which is, usually pretty good unless you happen to be up against Deadpool. Which this is my take on this. I really think that Black Noir is Deadpool. All these characters are in some way or another a pastiche, and they have very much taken Black Noir in a different direction than what he was in the comics, which is good. And Black Noir, I feel that when they were trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to do with him, they decided to make him Deadpool. And there are various things we've seen, and in this one we do see that. We see, because we saw this last time, where we see he does have that healing factor. I think we see that he is kind of messed up underneath his mask. Definitely in this one we see that, but I think when he fought Kimiko last season, we saw that there is something messed up there. Right. And I think that's essentially what my take on their Black Noir is he is Deadpool if his mouth was sewn shut. Oh,
right, okay. Yeah.
But it's not even that. It's just that he's mute. But like in his head, in my mind, he is Deadpool. And
it totally seems to be like the mirror they were going for.
Yes, and you see about, the way he sneaks up on people, the way he's killing everyone, the way he plays with the bunny at the end. Everything about it, you could totally see this be, Wade Wilson doing all these things. It just he'd be talking as he's doing it.
Right. He would be narrating everything he was doing.
Exactly. And so in my mind, he does have that narration going on. It's just all in his own head. That he's just forever stuck in his own head. I also think he may be breaking the fourth wall in his head. A little bit. I think that might be a part of it, and we'll see that. We'll see that later. But yeah, I definitely think that's something of what we're working with here.
I wonder if there's a whole host of jokes that are being made underneath his breath that we are not aware of that are probably hilarious. Probably.
Well, like I said, I get the feeling, and this is one of my hopes for season 3, because it has been stated that we're going to get a season 3. One of my hopes for season 3 is that there's going to be an episode done from Black Noir's perspective.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
So it's going to be, and it'll be like, a film noir where you always have that Philip Marlowe-esque narrative. It's going to be that, but it's going to be Black Noir narrating his whole story.
Oh, that sounds great.
I know, it'll be great. It'll be fun. I think it'll be delightful. I hope they do it. I think it writes itself, but we'll see what happens. They may not want something that writes itself. They pay these people good money to write these things. So, but yeah, so that's my take on him. We do also come to the negotiations between because this is about the use of the soups in military conflict, which is and Edgar's just trying to work out the standard contract. Says of course, obviously, we always want to limit collateral damage, but there is a certain bit that's expected of it. And they also obviously want to be treated like every other contractor, So, other contractors, have, are immune from prosecution, so should we. Which, arguably he's not wrong.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's also, you don't have these guys who are little nuclear warheads either. So, I also find it fascinating that, again, it's not that Black Noir is the one coming in. And I think we're going to see that a lot, where Black Noir is actually the one who does a lot of the cleanup work, that it's not Homelander. And I think probably because Homelander is just a guy who's just going to destroy it all rather than, actually have the precision of the kill.
Right, he's like a broadsword versus a scalpel.
Exactly. And so I think that is always the problem.
But since he's got a face, he can be the face.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Anyway.
Homelander can.
Yes, exactly.
So you think, I've heard a lot of people claim that he's probably stronger than Homelander. Or more powerful than Homelander.
Yeah, I mean...
But we've never seen Homelander hurt, or cut, or bleeding, or anything, ever, right?
No, I don't think so.
We really don't know what his powers' limits are, or, where the limits of his invulnerability are.
Well, exactly. I mean, I think part of the issue with Homelander is, and it goes to something like Translucent. Now, Translucent has that bulletproof skin, sure. But, what does that do beyond that? So, for example, if you shove a C4 up his butt, does Homelander explode from the inside? If you, depending on what you do, what happens to Homelander? It is just that reality that, Homelander may not be as invulnerable as he presents himself to be.
I don't think he's even he might not even be aware of the fact that he might not be invulnerable. He certainly seems to think he is completely invulnerable, right?
Oh yeah.
But he has no concept that he can be challenged at all.
Which is indicative of the person. Well, that's an interesting question, because we do see that he does not push back with Edgar.
Right.
And he's trying to wave his, big macho man Randy Savage around. his big Slim Jim around to Edgar, and Edgar just shuts him down. Like, as soon as looks at him, just shuts him the heck down.
Yeah.
And explains, listen, we had a plan, you think we're a superhero company. We're not. We are a drug company that up until now did not have to deal with the FDA. Now, because of you and your actions, you have let everybody in the government know that we have this stuff that creates superheroes, and that it's problematic.
So what's I guess a two-part question. What do you think is actually motivating Homelander? Or second part of that question is why does he cow down to Edgar? Is it because of an ideal that they both share? Is it because it's a common goal that they're trying to reach towards? They just have different ideas about how to get there? Or is there something that Edgar holds over his head? Or is Stan Edgar a superhero? Does he have some sort?
Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities. Part of it, I think, may just be what we used to call the or what I used to remember being called the elephant in the rope rule.
What's that?
Homelander was raised in a vault lab. Okay, and in that vault lab, he was controlled and handled. And in being controlled and handled, he came to, respond to the scientists and the business people in a certain way. And because when he was that age, he couldn't do anything about it. Then, as he grew, maybe he could, but he still has this psychological limitation in his head that says you can't push back at these people. And, and the idea with the elephant in the rope is that when you have a baby elephant, you tie a rope around its leg, and it'll try very hard to get its leg free, but after a while it'll just stop. And then for the rest of its life, anytime you put a rope around its leg, it will just understand it has a rope around its leg, and it won't try to break free of the rope because it knows that, it's a rope and I can't break a rope.
That's probably the scariest scenario. Because he just doesn't know his powers. He like, as powerful as we think he is, and he thinks he is, it's not that he doesn't know where his limits are. It's that he doesn't even know what the full extent of his powers are yet. That's even scarier.
Well, I think he does know. I think it's just that, and like I said, so the idea behind the elephant in the rope idea is that the elephant just never gets to the point where it really knows what it's doing. It's like it knows that, okay, I have this, what it is with the elephant is that it just comes to associate something with something that controls it. So that for Homelander, it's this idea that, he can say he wants to go off on his own and be a free agent, but he has never done that.
Right.
He has never been outside of the teeth of Vought. And now if we're going to start saying, okay, go ahead, leave. You are only a very small part of of our situation. We don't really need you. That is actually terrifying to him. Because if he was just mild-mannered Homelander on the street, what would he even do? He has such a support network that he operates within that if he lost his job, he can threaten it, but he really doesn't have a solution in place. So I think there are lots of levels to it. I think that goes back to I believe her name was Madeline.
Madeline, right?
Right. How does Madeline control him? Just with psychological manipulation of the things he misses and wants.
Yeah, but that's the other thing, the stark difference between the way Madeline handled him and the way Stan Edgar handles him. You would always see sort of the other side of the screen with her. Like, she would turn around and she would have to collect herself before she was able to put on the face that would convince Homelander that she wasn't afraid of him, that she loved him, that she cared about him. But Stan Edgar, like, you don't see that other side to him of him, being nervous around him. I mean, maybe you do a bit, but I guess it's just that he handles it differently. But it's fascinating to me that he really feels supremely confident that Homelander is not even a speck of a threat to him.
Exactly. And I think that is 100% it. I think that he sees Homelander as, Homelander is not the product. Homelander thinks he's the product. Homelander is not the product. Homelander is
a facilitator for the product.
Yeah, exactly. That what they do, what their business is not superheroes.
And it's also like Madeline wasn't the figurehead of the entire endeavor, so it's like it almost puts Stan Edgar in the father role.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So Madeline was never the authority; she was just a conduit for the authority. And so this time it's the authority. So he knows that the psychological training has put him in that figure that Homelander can't possibly raise a hand to him, even though he might think he can. When it comes to it, some psychological imprinting would prevent him from being able to do that.
Exactly.
Kind of like in Game of Thrones, Reek and who's the guy that kidnapped him in psychological?
What's his name? Yeah, I know who.
Therion, yes, exactly.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, but yes, exactly. But it's that same idea. Of course, that's a lot
more extreme.
More extreme, and also after the fact of his. Like, this is something that Homelander has been conditioned with since birth.
Right.
But we also see things like if you remember in the last season, there was the whole thing with the blanket and in this one with the freaking breast milk in the freezer.
That was so weird.
Well, Homelander's weird,
No.
I was
so glad when Ashley walked in. I was like, oh my God, stop it.
I also was really impressed that he can control his heat vision to just thaw something. And I thought that was so interesting.
I think that's an important nugget to give us for things that happen later on.
Yeah. He definitely has more control in that than we've been led to believe, which also suggests that when he is just letting it rip, it's not because he has to, it's just because he doesn't care. So when he destroyed the controls, that was 100% on him. He could have done...
Oh!
Yeah, you remember when the plane goes down. He could have done something that was pinpoint and small, and he chose not to do that. And because he chose not to do that, that is what happened.
Wait, so do you think his... Oh, right. It was just because he didn't care enough to But don't you think he would have cared enough about the mission or the optics they were aiming to have to help bring the narrative to where they wanted to be in the public discourse?
I kind of... So let me put it... So in getting into that public discourse, I think of it kind of like Kyle Rittenhouse.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you think about what has happened here, what has gone on here, when you listen to any kind of the conversations that people like Kyle Rittenhouse, and then, adults like Kyle Rittenhouse, because there's an adult faction too, they have all of these fantasies about the world in which, they're going to be the hero and they're going to show up and they're going to shoot their guns and it's going to be amazing. And I think to a grand extent that is exactly what Homelander is imagining. So he's like, yeah, I'm going to go there, I'm going to throw the guys out, I'm going to go there, I'm going to just laser them, and then he's not even thinking about, if I laser the guy, what does that mean for the controls? What's going to happen with the plane? Who's going to fly the plane? He's not even thinking that far ahead because he is letting himself become wrapped up in his own narrative.
Right.
So when he gets into it, like Cal Rittenhouse, he went there to look for the adventure. As soon as the adventure shows up, it's suddenly way more adventure than he was ready for. And now he has to sort of backtrack and figure out what he's going to do now. And in Kyle Rittenhouse's case, he just started shooting at people and, murdering them. And that's essentially what Homelander does, too. Just starts shooting and murders people. So, as a secondary aspect of this, we do have, we do introduce.
Oh, well, before I think that leads us to an important scene where Ashley walks in and interrupts him and says, "Hey, I found the new member of the Seven."
Oh man,
what was his name? Blind Fury or something?
Blind Spot.
Oh, that was a brutal scene, and
I know.
Oh, it's great to watch sort of Ashley come in and try to assert herself and say, "I'm in this position." And he's like, "No, you're just my mole." And this is what happens when you make bad decisions. So be very careful with what you say to me going forward.
Yeah.
What a crazy, crazy scene.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was just messed up. Honestly, I couldn't watch it the second time. Once I knew it was about to happen, I just had to walk away. I mean, because whatever happens, I don't even want to know. It is so messed up. And one hopes that, Vought has a nice retirement plan for him after this, that there is something because they got to make it go away. Let's be honest here.
But no, I guess if you think about it, he could do that to any of the members of the Seven. So it doesn't really make a legitimate argument that he wasn't worthy of the Seven because Homelander could, smash him in a second. But I bet he could do that to any single member of the Seven. I mean, A-Train is just fast, right? That's all.
Well, yeah. And the difference is that A-Train could probably avoid it. So A-Train would see,
unless he wasn't expecting it, or maybe
exactly. And that's essentially what happened. And truth be told, that might have been what happened with Blind Spot too. He was not expecting that. He did not see that coming. And that's basically what it was, and of course, it is that moment where, he's all impressed. Oh, so you even know it's me. It's like, yeah, I can, when you have super hearing, you can do all these kinds of things, yada, yada, yada. And then, he does what if someone were to do this? And basically,
yeah,
I like to think that didn't permanently cripple him. It just, pointed out his weakness, and that he would in time heal. I mean, we do see blood coming out of his ears, so that's never good. But,
but he was able to, utter sounds consciously, so his brain might be relatively okay.
Oh yeah, I'm sure his brain's fine.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just a question of will he ever have his superpowers again? Will he? Sort of like when Daredevil, gets beat up, and then he's like, I can't smell, I can't taste, I can barely eat. And then it's like, oh, actually, you just needed to use a neti pot, and your nose will be fine. Just give yourself 5 freaking minutes, and you'll heal.
Yeah.
You just had a blood clot up there, dude. Just chillax for a minute. So, Blind Spot may be back. Who knows?
But I think it was an important scene for Ashley's character to give us context into how she should be interpreting the situation and why she might be, as frantic as she is around him, and her choices might make more sense given this scene going forward. So I thought it was an important scene for that respect. Did I lose you?
Why is this acting up? Okay, there I am. Sorry. I was trying to mute it so my cough wouldn't be heard, and then unmute it. So hopefully you didn't hear my cough.
No, I didn't.
Then it all worked out completely the opposite, where I coughed and I couldn't, and then I muted it anyway. But with regard to it was a very important scene. It really establishes this. Really shows what Ashley is going through right now.
Yeah, that poor lady, man.
Well, not for nothing. She kind of, not to be rude, she kind of calls it on herself, Yeah,
I know, but it's possible to think that, she's just ambitious and she believed in the vision of Vought, and now she's behind the lines and sees all the ugliness, but she doesn't know what else to do. She's caught there, and she got let go, and she's just trying her best. That's what I think.
Well, yeah, she's definitely trying her best, but she is very much out of her element, and and kind of this was literally Homelander's point. He intentionally chose her because he saw her as a dupe he could manipulate. If I actually thought you were a threat, you wouldn't be in this job. You are in no way Madeline's equal. You are simply here to do what I tell you when I tell you, and don't think anything else. So, and that's fair. I think that's fair.
Yeah. And I guess at that point we're taken back to where the boys are hanging out in the basement of a pawn shop. It's a pawn shop, right?
Yeah, it's a pawn shop. Cash for gold. And clearly everyone is in a rough spot because Butcher's gone. They're on the lam. We keep on seeing images from the made-for-TV death of Madeline thing. It's also because it's like, it's weird because on one hand you think, okay, is this the made-for-TV movie? No, this is a dramatic reenactment from like an Unsolved Mysteries, except it's also like they have their Billy Butcher character. Who's just brilliant as Billy Butcher, I have to say that.
Yeah, and I got to imagine some piece of Butcher was kind of glad to see that. It's like, hey, look at me, I'm a star or whatever. Some part of him was a little bit tickled by that.
Yes, and of course, as is pointed out, they think that Butcher did kill Madeline, and as they will learn later, no, he did not. But in this moment, they still feel that. They get the video of the super terrorist attack down by the docks, which shows the ship that a bunch of migrants are being brought in on being lifted up and being thrown by this new super terrorist, and then Kimiko starts trying to tell them something about this person.
Yeah, she finds a little origami swan.
Yes.
Or is it a ninja star or something?
No, I think it was like a swan. Yes, okay. I think it was a swan. There was something that spoke to her, and then she later on is trying to communicate to Frenchie, who doesn't understand what she's trying to do. Because she's writing boy, girl. She's trying to learn how to communicate, and Frenchie is really not giving her appropriate enough time. But that's Frenchie for you.
But also Frenchie's sort of frazzled right now. He's on the lam. People are looking for him. His face is everywhere, so he's not. He's sort of under crunch as well.
Yes. But they do decide that they are going to reach out to their contact at the CIA to give them this information on the super terrorist. And her head explodes.
Yeah.
And you just do not see that coming. You did not see that coming, that her head just...
and part of me thought like maybe it was like a really high caliber sniper round from like 2 miles away or something, but then the way her nose bleeds first, you're like, something else is happening.
Yes, and exactly, and it was clearly meant as a psionic attack. We actually had prior to this just introduced Stormfront, who is the person that Edgar puts on the team. So basically, I'm blanking on her name again, but the new girl tries to put Blindspot on the team.
Stormfront.
No. Ashley tries to put Blindspot on the team, gets shot down by Homelander. Homelander's doing his TV spot, and all of a sudden, in walks Stormfront saying, "Yeah, I'm the new member." Taking up with Edgar, and that's where that goes. Do we get Gekko in this episode too?
No. I think we simply get. This is interesting. Huey goes and meets with her on the subway, and mentions that this is a person that can get us Compound B, and she's like, "Oh, that is a friend I had back in I guess Bible camp, right?"
Yeah. Capes for Christ.
Right. So we get mention of him, but we don't meet him yet.
We don't meet him yet. Okay, so that is his side hustle is something we see next episode.
Yeah.
Okay,
we do get the Deep.
Yes,
small town. Where is he? Idaho or Ohio?
He is in Sandusky, Ohio.
Gotcha.
It's home of SeaWorld. That's why they sent him to Sandusky. It's also home of Cedar Point and several other wonderful. But
a completely landlocked state, right? So it's almost done like a slap in the face. We're going to put you so far away from the real ocean, but we're not going to let you forget about the ocean. We're going to give you tiny teas just so you know exactly what you're missing. Oof. That's harsh. That's some harsh punishment right there. And he's definitely feeling it. He's pretty lost, and it leaves him in the perfect emotional situation to be approached by a cult.
Exactly. And Eagle the Archer, who is our Hawkeye pastiche, is right there on the job offering him a Fresca. Have a Fresca, Mozz.
I don't think I'll ever have a Fresca again.
Yeah. Oh, and that is this episode. Do you have any other thoughts on it, I think?
No, I think we got to everything here.
Yeah, and it's a really good show. I'm really loving where this season goes. I love how this season ends because I did watch it all already.
No. Actually, you know what? I'm just scrolling back to the episode. We do meet Gekko, and we do see his because I'm scrolling back.
So we do see his side hustles. Yeah. But we see him come through with the Compound V. That's not until next episode.
Yeah, here we do see him because he's called Gekko because he can regrow limbs.
Yes, one imagines. And apparently, a number of limbs, and it costs extra, and you get to keep the limb. So there you go. So that's for you. Yeah. Freak.
The other part of this whole dynamic that was really interesting to me was watching Starlight sort of lose, I guess, the last bit of her innocence, and having to dirty herself with the kind of conversation she has to have with someone who might have been an acquaintance or a friend back in the day, and really, really just sever ties with that old version of herself and just say, hey, we were never friends, and I need you to do this right now, otherwise you're in a whole heap of trouble. That was dark and sad in a way too.
Well, it is, but it's, for the greater good, and all the sacrifices we make for the greater good.
And then you're always forced to confront, the question, am I just as bad as the people I'm trying to stop? Obviously not, but I mean, it is a question you must ask.
Well, there's that maybe deeper question of how bad are the people you're trying to stop? And we will get to that question, especially in the complexities of that question as time progresses. But in the meantime, if you have enjoyed listening to this episode, which I hope you have, I'm glad. But if you haven't, maybe the problem is the substandard headgear you are listening to this on. For that, I recommend you go to tweakedaudio.com, sponsor of the show. Use the coupon code Southgate to get a discount on any of their fine audio equipment that you may want to listen to us on. Likewise, that coupon code, it does do double duty. Use the coupon code Southgate over at huntakiller.com to get a discount on your membership there and help Michelle Gray solve a cold case. It's like getting a escape room delivered to your house every week. Likewise, go down to the show notes, find that link down there to Amazon. Go to Amazon.com, buy anything you dang well please, including Pod Life the book, the only book written by the folks here at Southgate Media Group to entertain and amuse you about podcastery.
Are there any plans to put that in an audiobook format?
Not that I know of yet. But we will reach out to Master Doom on that very subject to find out if an audiobook might be available in the near future. I don't see why we couldn't do it as an audiobook. I mean, literally everyone who wrote it is a podcaster.
Right, and we are a group of golden voices, right?
Exactly. So I would love to see that. So I will push that with Master Doom, Rob Southgate, and see what we can get. And in the meantime, Mozz, if people would like to add their name to the petition to get an audio version of Pod Life the book, how can they join your cause?
Oh, they can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And, of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way the way our Mozz and Poz once did at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. Of course, follow me on the Twitter as I live tweet this Sunday at 9:30 p.m. if I can stay up, the final episode of the first season of Lovecraft Country. It's a great show, and you should be watching it. I should have been watching it and tweeting it much earlier. At Charlie Esser. That's CHARLIE. ESSER. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing.
Thank you, Maz. All right, you landlubbers. You've followed us on these briny seas once more, listening to us weave our tales of malcontent. Join us again next week as we once again sail full stream ahead. Arr.